Money Talks. Number 24 Park Street is a big, expensive house. Old Mr. Anthony Rockwall lives there. He worked for many years, and now he has a lot of money. He is old, and he doesn't work. A man drives his car for him. A woman makes his food. A boy brings the newspaper to him. Mr. Rockwall sits in his big chair and smiles. He is a happy man. Mr. Rockwall calls his son. "Richard, come here. I want to talk to you." Mr. Rockwall's son comes in and sits down. He is a quiet young man of 21. "Yes, father?" "Richard, the men on this street are gentlemen. They come from good families and have a lot of money. We aren't a famous old family, but we have a lot of money. My money makes you a gentleman, too. Money can open a lot of doors for you," Mr. Rockwall says with a smile. "It can open some doors, father, but not every door," Richard says. "My son, don't say that. We have no problems. Ask people on the street. Ask your friends. What door doesn't open with money?" Mr. Rockwall asks. "Money can't buy a place at the table of the right people," Richard says. "You're wrong, young man," his father says, and he looks into his son's eyes. "Son, the families of these men didn't always have a lot of money. They know about work. You make a lot of money with a lot of work." Richard is quiet. "Son, what's the problem? Are you sick? What's wrong? You can talk to me," Mr. Rockwall says. "Father, I'm not sick. I have a good home, an interesting job, and a smart old father. But—" "What's her name?" Mr. Rockwall asks. "Oh, father, she's beautiful and very special. Her name is Ellen Lantry. She's the only woman for me," Richard says. "Talk to her. Dance with her. Walk in the rain with her. She's going to love you, too," his father says. "You're a good young man. You're special, too." "But she's always with people," Richard says. "I never have any time with her. She never has time for me." "Richard, take some money and buy some time with her. Talk to her about your love," the old man says. "I can't," Richard says. "She's going to Europe by boat tomorrow morning. She's going to stay there for 2 years. This evening, I'm going to take her to the theater, but it's a very short drive. I'm not going to have much time with her, and you can't buy her time." "Okay, Richard. Now I understand. Your love for her is very strong, but she doesn't know about it. That's your problem," Mr. Rockwall says. She can't know, because there isn't time, Richard says. He's very unhappy. Your money can't talk to her. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Richard goes to the beautiful young woman's house. "Good evening, Richard," Miss Lantry says. "Mother and Father are waiting for us at the theater. I don't want to be late." "To Wallack's Theater, please," Richard says to the driver. But at 34th Street, the car stops. "What's wrong?" Richard asks. "I'm sorry, Mr. Rockwall," the driver says. "There are cars to the left, to the right, and behind us. We can't move. Every car in New York is sitting here." "Oh, Richard, are we going to be late?" Miss Lantry asks. "I'm very sorry, Ellen. No theater for us this evening," Richard says. "That's okay. I don't like theater very much. I'm happy here in the car with you," Miss Lantry says. "Are you?" Richard asks with a smile. Later the same evening, Richard walks into his father's office. The old man is reading his newspaper. "Father," Richard says, "Miss Lantry and I are in love." "Very good, Richard. I'm happy for you," his father says. "We talked and talked. She loves me. You see, money can't buy love," Richard says. Then the happy young man goes to bed. But let's finish his story. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Kelly comes to the door of Mr. Rockwall's house. "Good morning, Mr. Kelly," Mr. Rockwall says. "You did a good job yesterday evening. Here's your $5,000. "It was difficult, Mr. Rockwall. The drivers of the cars wanted $10, and the policemen wanted $50. But cars stopped for us on every street." "Did it all go well?" Mr. Kelly asks. "Well, yes, it was beautiful. Let's drink to love and to money."